UV mapping the pathways should be fairly straightforward. But we need to keep in mind that the player is going to be very close to the ground at all times. So we need to make it look pretty good. The size of our textures will be important. And we also want to make sure we reduce or eliminate completely any stretching on the texture. So let's go over to our UV editing layout here. And I'll frame it up with the period key on the number pad. And first of all, I think all we need to do is select the top faces in face mode here. And I'll just select this edge with Alt-click to select that whole loop of faces. And then I'll just manually come in here and select these. And for this, I think I want to project the UV map straight down the Z-axis. So what I'll do is I'll press the 7 key and then the 5 key to go to orthographic view. And now if I press U and project from view, I can project the UV map directly from the camera point of view. And there it is. So that looks pretty good. Let's do that for the courtyard area here as well. So at this point I need to deselect the pathway, so I'll hit the A key, and then I'm going to press the C key for the circle select tool and just click and drag these faces here and right click to get out of the tool. And then I'll just press U and project from view as well here. Now for these other parts of the courtyard here, I think if I deselect this with the A key and then Alt-click this edge here to select these faces, and then I can expand my selection by pressing Control and the plus key on the number pad and increase my selection there. So now I have all of those faces on the inside selected as well as all the ones on the outside. Granted, the problem is now I have these parts of the pathway selected. But if I press the Z key to go to wireframe and the C key to go to the circle select tool, I can scroll the mouse wheel to make that a little bigger. And now what I can do is click and drag with the middle mouse button and deselect these faces. And there we go. So for this part, I'm just going to try the unwrap tool. I'll press U and click unwrap and see what I get. Now we're getting some strangeness here in the UV map again, and that tells me that I need to look at my scale of my object. In fact, if I hit the U key again and click unwrap, sure enough, I see this error now. So what I want to do is apply the rotation and scale of this object. So I'm going to press the Tab key to come back into edit mode. I'll press Control A to choose to apply the rotation and scale of the object. And there we go. Now look at what we have. We've got the normals of the object flipped. We get this purple kind of color on the top and gray on the bottom. What we want is the gray on the top. So I'll press the Tab key, hit the A key, and press W for the Specials menu and click Flip Normals. Now if we go back into object mode, we can see we've got the gray on the top and the purplish on the bottom. So now let's go back into edit mode and let's select this edge of the courtyard. So I'll select that loop, Control plus on the numpad, and I'll deselect these with the circle select tool. Now if we go back and press U and unwrap, let's see what we get. That's quite a bit better. So we've got a couple more pieces that we need to deal with here. Mainly the insides of each of the paths. So this area right in here. Now we don't need the courtyard pieces here. I would kind of like to have these pieces connected to the main pathway that we've already UV mapped in a way that allows the textures to flow smoothly around that corner. To do that, I think I'm going to need to just select these pieces like this and hit U and unwrap. and do the same thing all the way around. So now I've got this area here, this piece, and this piece, and just unwrap this as well. And I'm going to need to go around to each of the parts and pick them up. Then I'll be able to use the stitch tool in the UV editor to connect these up so they fit together and allow that texture to flow over it smoothly. Now that I've done the insides, I'll come back and pick up the outsides here as well. So I'll just select these and unwrap. So I have all those now. If I select everything, you should see that we have a mess of overlapping UV islands here. I'm going to hit the A key to select them all and then press Control A and Control P and see if I can pack them in there. Now that I've got that, I need to do some editing here to get it all connected up again. Mainly these pieces I'd like to connect up with the outside and inside edges of the pathway. So to do that, I'm going to press Control up arrow to bring this to full screen. And I don't need this panel over here, so I'll press the N key. So I have a big clean area to work with. From here, I'd like to select edges and stitch the appropriate pieces onto the pathway. So I'll press Control Tab and come into Edge mode, and I'll just select these edges here. And if you go down to the UVs menu, you see you have a menu item called Stitch, and the shortcut is V. I'm going to click Stitch, and that will tell me that this piece right here is going to be moved and connected to that edge right there. And that looks good, so I'll click, and that will move that to that point. Once again, I'll select this edge, press the V key, and that will tell me in green that this piece over here will be moved to there. So sure, that's what I want. I'll click, and I'll keep coming around here to do this. So I'll select those edges, V, click, select this edge, V, click, and on around. Now I'll come in and do the same thing for the inside edges, pressing the V key and clicking. And now when I come to this piece here, let me zoom in here. And if I connect this piece, I'll have an overlapping corner here. So if I press the V key and click, so as you can see, there's some overlap here. I'd like to weld these two together. What I'll do is select these 2 points, and then I'll press the W key on the keyboard, which brings up the Weld Align menu, and I'll choose Weld. Now you can also get to that menu here from the UVs right here. As I'm working on this piece, I realize I'd like to snap this vertex or this UV point to that vertex as well. If I selected both of them and hit the W key, they would move to the center between those two. And that's okay, but for this instance, I think I'd like to actually snap it to here. So what I can do is with that point selected, I can come down here to the snap tool and choose vertex, and then I'll turn it on here too. So I've got vertex selected. Now when I hit the G key and move it around, it's going to snap to the nearest point. So I'll just click there and allow that to be snapped to that point. And I'll do the same over here. So I'll continue on with this edge, press V and click, and I'll keep moving on. So I've got all those pieces now connected up to the pathway. I can repack these UVs into the 0 to 1 space here. I'll press the A key to select all, press Control A and Control P. So there we have our pathway UV mapped. In the next section, we'll begin working on texturing the objects.